Tonight on Politically Incorrect, from Saturday Night Live, Norm Macdonald. From Kid and Play, Kid. Arianna Huffington and novelist Paul Theroux. And now, the star of Politically Incorrect,
very much, folks. You're awfully kind. Oh, you're awfully kind. If only the president had this kind of kindness directed toward him. I feel bad. Well, President Clinton, you know, he's over in Europe trying to make diplomacy. He's with the British Prime Minister, the big superpower summit, and the poor guy, you know, what kind of president has to put up with this kind of stuff where he meets the new British Prime Minister and the guy says to him, it's so nice to meet you. I've heard so much about your penis. I mean... What is going on in the world? Well, the Clintons apparently really get along with Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister, and his wife, because they actually extended their trip. They were supposed to come home, and they went out to an exclusive restaurant last night with the Blairs, and they say they're very much like each other, and apparently Clinton and Blair are like each other, because they had a typical friendly argument at the end of the meal about who would pick up the waitress. There is some trouble in the country of Sierra Leone. Do you know about this country? I thought it was the guy who knocked up Madonna, but apparently Sierra Leone is, no, it's in West Africa, and they had a coup there, and a lot of Americans are there, and today they started evacuating Americans, and our military went in, our pilots went in. They are rescuing women and children first, and then they are returning to have sex with the remaining husbands. That's the way our military... Oh, stop it. Now, if you're following the big Oklahoma bombing trial, it went to the jury yesterday. They are deliberating. People are on pins and needles. Tim McVeigh, I don't think he helped his own case, because today he was heard to say to his lawyers, "Can we hurry this up? My bomb is double parked." I know. Feel bad for Tim. I do too. It's one mistake and people turn on you. Well, here's good news. We can end on you know, they measure the consumer confidence level in this country. I don't know how they do it, but they have ways. It is at the highest level in 28 years. Apparently, consumers have a lot of confidence to the point where economists are actually worried about this now because they. A loose thread, perhaps? Something tickling you there? No. Hear me out. Not that it's going to get much funnier than that, but the consumer confidence level is too high. That's what the economists are saying. You're right. They're always pessimistic. That is funny. But they are worried that people are so confident that they're going to put off buying stereos and expensive sports cars because they think they can get laid on charm alone. Anyway, thanks for coming. You were right. It's all been satirized for your protection. First, he is a multi-talented actor, singer, songwriter, and he no longer cuts his own hair. Our buddy Kid. Hey, thank you for doing this. Appreciate you stepping in. He's the highly acclaimed author of The Mosquito Coast, Half Moon Street, and St. Jack. His newest is Kowloon Tong, Paul Theroux. There it is. Maestro, thank you very much. She will be appearing with Al Franken June 9th at the Toyota Comedy Festival. Wonder where they got that idea. In New York, our favorite Republican Party girl, Arianna Huffington. Hey, I get healthy. Thank you, baby. And he's the anchor of Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update, Norm Macdonald. Ah, Norm, the kids love you, Norm. The kids love you. Okay. All right. I wanted to talk tonight about President Clinton's Education 2000 program and how it would affect our allies. No, I don't. I want to talk about Paula Jones, and so do you. And we talked about this Tuesday, but some things have happened, and I don't know. I think that he probably did something wrong, I'll be honest with you, but we're at this point now where we're talking about distinguishing marks on the president's genitals. She's talking about bringing forth women, 10 or more women, who are going to testify to what something happened with them, too. I believe we are at the point where the presidency is becoming a laughingstock. And at some point, don't we have to say to this woman, look, you probably were wronged. Take one for the team. We got to start thinking about the country. I'm just asking.
You mentioned, you said that she had a distinguishing mark. She said
No,
she said that there was a distinguishing mark on the genital. How many genitals has she seen? The question is, maybe she hasn't seen that many. Maybe what she thinks is a distinguishing mark is like mine or, you know, Norm's or... So,
yeah.
The idea that...
Everybody could have it. Like, it could just be one of them giant hairy warts.
It's just... The question...
My problem is that I don't believe her.
Ask Hillary whether she would recognize
Hillary.
She might not know, but she might not recognize. She might not recognize.
She might not remember.
She might not. Has she seen it?
Anyway.
Maybe she hasn't seen the presidential penis. You know? Possible. I'm just throwing that out. You know?
And he's the author guy.
Right?
You know, I expect that from you, too.
He's out the
My
box.
problem is that I don't believe her. I just somehow her story doesn't ring true, because in it the president is decisive. He knows what he wants. He takes action immediately. That's not the Clinton we know.
Did you say the president is decisive?
He's decisive.
Well, in this instance, she's saying in the hotel room.
The president, that we know, the president that we know, would basically have compromised and settled for a hand job.
Oh my God! Hey, could you two calm down? We have comedians here.
I know, right? You know what? I think you brought up an important point, though. At this point, in terms of taking one for the team, I think you have to distinguish. This is not a criminal proceeding. It's like a civil proceeding. I mean, so what's in question is money. And I think in terms of that, I think, you know, let the president do what the president is supposed to do. I mean, the president is like everyone else, but the president isn't like everyone else. The president's not the postman. He's not the garbage man. He's the president.
Yep.
He's got that button. Can we let him concentrate on it? Okay? We'll deal with him later. He ain't gonna have any money anyway, so...
But one of the questions is whether it's part of the presidential duties. But everyone thought it is part of the presidential duties, isn't it, to drop your pants? I mean, but he's certainly in a long tradition of presidents. You're talking about getting a hand job, but I mean,
his approval rating.
I don't know how many.
How many times have people said that to you?
And we haven't been believed, okay? But his approval ratings keep going up, which is further proof that American women love a bad boy. The naughtier Clinton is, the more women love him.
Well, I think, like, sexual harassment is a very, like, it's a thing where you have to look at both sides. You know, like to Paula Jones, it's a case of, like, you know, he was governor of Arkansas and he used his position, you know, to harass her, and then now he's the president, he's using his position to cover it up. And from Clinton's point of view, Paula Jones is probably just playing really, really hard to get.
If you're planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect, call 213-852-2...
Okay, we were talking about President Clinton's problems. As usual, no one answered the question. And I was asking whether, you know, with this situation, are we really crippling this country? Are we going to become a pitiful, pantless giant?
It depends on how far this is going to go.
And people are laughing at him. I mean, he's on this trip. He was laughed and mocked at in different countries. Now, he's got 3 years left or more in office. Can we afford it?
Maybe.
But it's possible. Why is it impossible for someone to be human and also to be making political decisions? No one's laughing at him when he's signing an agreement, NAFTA or he's with Yeltsin. They're only laughing at him when he's pretending not to have a deformed penis, right? But no one's, as a legislator, he's beyond above reproach.
I enjoyed the Bulls Heat game. I didn't care if the guy bit some broad's back.
That's right.
Yeah. But it all depends on how far this is going to go. I mean, are we going to have a police artist kind of do a sketch of the president's genitalia?
No, you can enjoy, but seriously,
if he does, I'd like to know, circumcised or uncircumcised.
Well, you see,
because there was a recent study.
It helped him in his Israeli deliberations if he's not
But beyond that, and have you heard about the recent study that uncircumcised men have more fun?
No, I haven't.
Anybody wants to? Do you want to have an informal focus group here?
I agree with Norm. I think we can enjoy him on both levels, which as a stick man and also as a legislator, and in the way that you can. Well, the fact that Marv Alpert is he's not less of a newscast of a sportscaster because he's been accused.
Sportscaster doesn't matter. The president. What do you mean it doesn't matter? You equate a sportscaster with the president?
Why not? I mean, they're both looking for airtime and ink, aren't they?
Personally, I think all of Clinton's opponents have a PhD, which is President Hating degree.
Yeah.
And that's what they have. I mean, it's true. You have to be able to separate the two. As you said, as a legislator, as a world leader, I think he's well respected. But I think his indiscretions or whatever, I mean, I think that's a separate issue. And I think.
But Nixon was effective in a lot of the things he does. He was brought down by his scandal in his second term. Reagan was effective.
Different kind of scandal.
Reagan had Iran-Contra.
But Nixon didn't have a dipstick problem. You know who has it?
Bill, this guy. Bill, what was this book about? What was the book about again?
I got to read that dirty thesaurus that you have.
No, but a better example is the royal family. The royal family. They're being brought down by this kind of thing. But people think they're human. They're human.
But they're not actually governing. They're just figureheads. They're people on a stamp. This man is actually running the world, and people are not paying attention to that because all they want to hear about is, don't give me another one. But you know.
But what was interesting that the news came out when he was in Paris, and of course in Paris nobody would have cared. I mean, you had François Mitterrand before he died, who had an official mistress, an illegitimate daughter, and when the press asked him about it, he said, "Et alors," which vaguely translated means "and so what?"
Right.
And nobody minded.
But I mind if he's hitting on this woman and she doesn't want to be hit on, because that's sexual harassment, and that's the Anita Hill business. Obviously, Clarence Thomas had something to answer for. We assume, but there's no detail in this. There's no Coke can, there's no Long Dong Silver. There's just, there's nothing really to get your hands on.
No smoking. All right. No smoking penis.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about China. Talk a little bit about China because, well, you are an expert. This is your book. As you can see, it looks like many of the menus that you get in restaurants.
I said it had to look like a Chinese menu.
It really does.
It must look like
exactly like a menu. But I know you know a lot about it, and I don't, but here's what I think.
Don't be silly. I heard you speaking Mandarin backstage.
Clinton just re-upped the most favored nation status, which some people have said we shouldn't do. They say we should break off relations with China because China, admittedly, has, as bad a human rights record as Don King. I don't know. It's just bad. But China is a very isolationist country. Historically, they built a wall. I don't know if you know that. And if
That's the Berlin Wall.
No. That's a different wall. That's in Egypt. And if we break off with them, I think they'll just say, well, the hell with you, and go on doing what they're doing anyway. I think the only way to bring them into the family of nations, and I know this is what the president says, but not just this president, many others, is to engage with them. Why is that wrong?
It's not wrong with we already owe them so much money, we can't break off them. We have so many slave laborers and little kiddies earning 10 cents a day to make tennis shoes that we owe them a ton of money. We can't break off. I mean, they're not.
Of course we can break off. Of course we can break off. First of all, the president himself in 1992 attacked President Bush for coddling the butchers of Beijing. Do you remember that?
Well,
now here we are.
A campaign.
He doesn't just want to extend most favored nation status permanently. He wants to toast them, celebrate them, honor them. I mean, can't we just trade with them? Do we have to respect them in the morning?
But the whole world,
it's tough.
The whole... I agree. I don't know why they're the most favored nation, but we do owe them a ton of money. The fact is that they make stuff for the whole world. Every Christmas decoration in the whole world is made in China. Forget Nikes, you know.
Well, that lets you know that the issue is money. Clearly the issue has to be money. I was telling Arianna, I saw a documentary that really detailed the whole events in Tiananmen Square. I mean, and this was some really deep stuff. And if anyone saw that, you know, they would say, well, this is wrong. How can we support any regime or any government that supports this? It was like 2 weeks of Kent State, day and night. But when it's not like, clearly the issue's money.
You approved of Tiananmen Square, so did Al Haig.
Yeah,
everyone's saying
that doesn't make it right.
No, it's not right. No, it's not right. I think it's despicable. I think it's an abomination. I think it's an abomination. I don't think we should give them most favored nation. I agree with you.
But why not? Because if we break off, other people will trade with them, and they won't trade.
Everyone trades with them.
Isn't it hubris to think that we can change China any more than China could change us by making campaign contributions?
Do you know what's the percentage?
Well, we're bending. It's not just that we're not doing anything. We're bending over. The whole world is bending over for them and saying, "Do it to me." It's not.
On that note, Norm, stop.
But it's a fact. It is a fact. It is a fact. Because Clinton has a single-faceted policy, which is just trade, nothing else.
But also, do you know what percentage of our exports goes to China? Just 2%. So this is a big myth that somehow exports. Yes, only 2%. That's not much. And on top of it, please explain to me why we don't give most favored nation status to Cuba, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, but we give it to China. It doesn't make any sense.
Because they got money. Cuba,
it's bucks.
Just like what about Saudi Arabia? They have human rights violations there, but they have oil. We don't even hear a peep out of that.
Well, that's where it's uneven. The policy is clearly uneven. And I mean, you'd think that someone should come out and say this is what it is.
But what I find amusing is that no one knows. If people approve and say, Tiananmen Square, that's all right. But they don't know how many people got killed. They say, it's all right, might have killed a few. But no one, even Kissinger, Brian that he is, doesn't know how many people got killed, but saying, it's okay. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, they said, it's okay, you have to disperse the students. No one knows how many got killed.
Well, how many, Mr. Expert?
Well, I don't know. That's the whole point. If I knew.
I'll tell you why nobody knows, because people forget a very important thing. The Chinese are a lot smarter than us. So it's hard to criticize, but some things we excel at that they don't. I mean,
one thing
I have never seen a Chinese guy in a porno. You know what I mean?
I got to take a break. We'll be right back. Monday we're going to have Dennis Miller, Mike Farrell, Ann Coulter, and Ann Richards of Texas. And I would never lie to my audience. That is a repeat. After working for 5 straight months, the politically incorrect staff gets a well-deserved break next week.
Yeah.
Please. But so we may be off when the Tim McVeigh verdict comes in, and a lot of people think he's going to be found guilty. And they said they could send him to the gas chamber or the electric chair. I wanted to ask, do you think that's a wise thing, to send somebody to his death who has a following out there, to make him a martyr, or not?
Yeah, I think make him a martyr. Then when a lot of people...
You're a weird guy.
You're a weird guy. And when they come out of the woodwork, when all these people come out of the woodwork saying, what did you do to Tim? Machine gun them.
Kind of like the Chinese.
More or less. They shoot him in the back of the neck.
Oh, okay. Well,
you can't treat the militia groups rationally and say if